So exciting. All right. Well, let's get
All
started.
right. I'll keep an eye on it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Denise and Bessie, CEO and founder of Muscle Mix Music, where we provide fitness professionals music for both in-person and virtual classes. Welcome to Matcha Tea Time. Now, it's really any tea you want. You can be drinking any tea you want, but we have Janis over there. And since we're spilling the tea, I'm trying to be cool because I have an 18-year-old spilling the tea, although she might think that's old-fashioned at this point. I don't know. But when gyms closed in 2020, I was interviewing all different subject matter experts in the industry almost daily to bring fit pros information and inspiration. And now I thought I'd bring it back. And we're in the middle of a 5-week webinar series called Behind the Screen, Tips for Teaching Virtual Fitness. So today is our second of the 5-week series every Tuesday. And today I'll be interviewing Janis Saffell. Now she's got a long bio and I want to give her that. I'll go through it quickly because she has done so much in the industry. I want to recognize her. She is a fitness expert, holistic wellness coach. She's a trailblazer in the fitness industry. She's over 30 years, even though she looks like she's 15. I always think you look so young.
Well, thank you.
Empowering people all around the world. And she's a national and world aerobic champion. She blends her elite athletic background in gymnastics, martial arts, and classical ballet with certifications in NASM, ACE, and AFA. She is known for her science-based injury prevention approach, strength training, recovery, and wellness. And she starred on ESPN, Crunch Fitness, QVC. She's been around. She's also the creator of the best-selling Brand New Butt video series. She continues to educate and inspire through virtual fitness on-demand programs, CEC workshops, and wellness coaching. And she's amazing. She's also my coach. I take her class every single day, and I just adore her. And she's also a very dear friend. So because she's been in the industry for so long, she knows a lot about fitness. But even before COVID, she was doing virtual. So she knows a lot about virtual fitness. Today, though, we're going to touch on, and Janis, feel free to talk about other things as well. We're going to touch on the trials and tribulations of starting a virtual fitness business, all about lighting and video setup, and how Janis is making her class engaging and fun. Welcome, Janis, my friend.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here.
So
Yay!
excited to have you here. I'm really happy that you're going to be sharing. And you can see her, Janis's favorite color is pink if you haven't guessed it by now. So she is been doing this, like I said, a long time. And Janis, why don't we start from the beginning? How did you get started teaching virtual fitness?
So that was my plan even before the pandemic. So in 2017, 2016, I had been filming videos and putting them up on YouTube, so kind of doing it that way. But then I was coaching at a spa, and we had a big TV in the aerobic room. And I was going back and forth between Miami and Kentucky, and I was like, what if I taught virtual classes when I was in Kentucky and then teach them live when I come back to Miami? And so we just kind of figured out how to do it. And we actually started using Facebook back in the day in I think it was 2017. And I was live streaming from my sunroom upstairs onto the big screen in the studio. And so I didn't have to sub out my classes. Everybody would just come and filter into the studio, take class. I'm on the TV talking to them. And that's kind of how we started. And so that was my goal, was to do everything virtual, go on to do online programming and teach my classes virtual so I could be anywhere in the world teaching my classes and still make a living. So that was my goal.
I love that. And I do remember that you had a room in Kentucky. Janis used to live in Miami for many, many years, and her family's in Kentucky. So that's why she went back and forth. But it was a great idea. And I'm sure a lot of these people here, which we will unmute at the end so people can talk, but I'm sure a lot of the fitness professionals here have the same kind of thing where, virtual comes in handy. So you don't have to be stuck having to go to a place. Of course, look, don't get me wrong. We all love the live classes for for the obvious, you know, the energy and the people and the music and all that. But virtual is here to stay. I mean, I do it every day. It saves me so much time. I don't have to look my best, and I could cheat a little. But anyway,
Hey,
let's
you're
get
talking
into
to
it.
your coach.
Oh yeah, that's right. Maybe I better not say that.
Not supposed
So
to say
Janis,
that.
yeah, I know I'm not supposed to say that. Let's jump in. Tell us, where did you even begin, or do you want to talk about where you landed, or you want to go through the trials and trip, like a little bit of the, because you could save everybody some time, obviously, but go ahead and explain like what your needs were. Let's talk about audio and lighting mostly to start. The tech, I mean, your
Yes.
place looks beautiful.
So that was, so in the beginning, during the pandemic, all of us, all fitness pros were scrambling, right? Just to try to figure out the heck were we supposed to do? Spas were closing, gyms were closing, but we still wanted to cater to our clients. And so I saw a lot of people going onto YouTube and, Facebook Live and, all of that. But I wanted a permanent home so that people knew where to find me. And so we all then kind of learned how to work with Zoom. That was trial and error too,
That's right.
right? Right.
Who's
And
new?
so even with muscle mixes, Denise, you were a pioneer in going with the Zoom programming for virtual, and we all
Thank you.
just kind of jumped in and tried to figure it out through all the settings on Zoom, internet connections. I mean, you name it. We went through all of the do's and don'ts, if you
Yes, we
will,
did.
of
Yes, we
going
did.
live for virtual classes. Now, I know a lot of people were just videotaping, recording their classes and then uploading it to the YouTube channel, or even
True.
recording it and then uploading it to Facebook and Instagram and all of that. However, I wanted a live experience for my participants, and I was very fortunate. My spa actually paid me to teach virtual. So I had to figure it out quite quickly. And then one of my spas actually bought all the camera equipment, lighting, and everything. And they had a virtual studio built and had us come in one at a time to film classes. And so we did them live in the studio, just one instructor at a time. So that
Oh,
was another way of doing it. But I just remember, Denise and Rhonda
oh,
and all of us, on Zoom calls, just trying to figure out
yeah,
how to even get all the tech to work,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How do you
It
get your
was,
music to work if you were teaching on Zoom? It's completely different if you're teaching, music with Facebook. So, all the different ways of trying to figure all this out and have a good experience, right?
it was
For
a
you,
scramble. It was a
yeah, and
scramble.
for your participants, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so we learned very quickly that you really needed to be hardwired, right? If you were going to use your
Ah.
computer and use
Now, what does that
Zoom,
mean? What does that mean?
so hardwired meaning that your internet box is connected by a wire and you're not using Wi-Fi, because
Wow.
Wi-Fi can go down and can be spotty, but if you're hardwired, typically you're going to have good download and upload speeds if you're hardwired, and it's going to give you a more
Mm,
stable connection, especially
okay.
if you're running music and mics and all of that, because that takes up bandwidth. Also, the
Right.
more people you have in class, the more bandwidth you're going to use. And so Wi-Fi just definitely was not an option. And
Okay,
we went through
that's
a
one
lot of that.
tip. I wrote that
Yeah.
down. Hardwire, love that.
Yeah, so
And it's
that's
easy to
really,
get those cables, I mean, on Amazon or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
And because my internet box is on the second floor and my studio is on the main, like in the main floor, I have to use a 50-foot cable. It,
Really?
yeah, to actually to run it from the main internet box down through the walls, through and then under the mat and everything, and then it comes around to the computer. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, that's a great tip. All right, and now let's jump in, you want to talk about your tech setup or your lighting
Sure. So
first?
I use Zoom, and again,
Okay.
everybody can use it differently. I use a computer setup. I've got a webcam in front of me. I've got a ring light in front of me. But a lot of people just use their phone too, and you put it on, on a tripod and you can teach class that way, especially if you're just recording it. This is like a really easy way to do that. And then there's all different types of little mics that you can actually then hook up into your phone. That's like the transmitter, and then this would be the mic. And so you can put that into your phone. You can also use it on your iPad. And they've got, I mean, if you go on Amazon, there's all kinds of different,
Goodies.
let's see if I can get that to
Can you tell me what a
focus.
webcam is? I want to make sure people understand what that is.
Sure. So the
I don't wanna assume anything.
webcam, instead of using the camera that's on your actual device, like if you're using a computer, you
Computer.
usually have a camera on your computer.
Yeah.
However, sometimes they're not as robust, or they don't give you good clarity. So, with a webcam, then you can move that webcam so that's actually pointing in the right direction. So if you're using a computer and the computer is down, you might have to shift the screen up or
Screen, yeah.
down, and that it's just a little more cumbersome. But if you're using a webcam, then you're just going to put it on your ring light and then you can adjust it, and that's where I'm talking to you right now.
So is it
through
like
the
a little
webcam.
device? I mean, I'm really ignorant. I don't know what it is. Is it like a
Yeah,
little device?
it's like this, and it just
Okay.
clips onto your ring light. You can also clip it
Oh.
onto the top of if you're using a laptop, on top of the screen. There's a little
Oh,
clip that you
yeah,
can
I've
do
seen
that.
those.
Yeah.
Yes, now I remember. Yes,
And then
I know
it
what a
just,
webcam is.
and then it just goes right
Okay.
into the computer. You have to make sure that the computer is registering your webcam. So in Zoom, you can choose different cameras, and
Ooh,
you can go back to the device, your computer, or you can use the webcam. I've just had more success using a webcam, because if I was
okay.
using the computer camera, I'd have to be like down here talking to you guys, right? And so if I'm like doing intros for class, I'd have to like be down here and then come back
Gotcha.
up to teach. So it was
Oh, I
just
see.
better to
Yeah, yeah,
have that
yeah.
webcam. So it's basically eye height,
Gotcha.
and then that way you can see full body during
Okay.
workouts and
That's
stuff.
really great. I love that.
Yeah.
And I can't believe you just have a perfect setup now. I know it took forever. But shall we even approach the mic subject? Let's jump right into the mic, shall we? I always say they put people on the moon, but we can't figure out how to
We
get a
can't
mic that
figure out
works.
mics, yes. And that was another challenge during the pandemic, because like equipment, you couldn't find stuff because things were sold out. So that was another issue too, trying to find the right equipment in order to teach your class, because like weights, you couldn't find them, you couldn't order them. So through the bad, the ugly, the everything, I have literally gone through over 30 plus microphones over the
Show the
last 5
boxes.
years.
I want to show
Okay.
the boxes.
So, and this isn't even,
30 mics?
yeah,
Wow.
30 mics. This isn't even the half of it. Okay. I mean, this is what drives you crazy as an instructor, trying
Yeah.
to teach and trying to figure out all the tech and all the different types of mics. So you have USB mics. This one actually
Boy.
plugs in to your headset on the computer, and then you got the headset and then the mic pack, and it's not wireless because, well, it's wireless from the headset to the mic pack. So
Okay.
that's one option that you can go with.
Oh
Then
boy.
there was like USB ones. I mean, you name it, I
Wow.
tried it. So if you have questions about microphones, feel free to email me, and I'll try to help steer you in the right direction. But, Amazon is a great resource to be able to get microphones and test them out. And then if it doesn't work for you, you can return them, which is awesome, versus going
That
to
is
like a
yours.
music store. Now,
Yeah.
you can go to a music store and they're a wealth of knowledge trying to educate you on what mic is going to be the best for you. I know a lot of instructors like to use the lapel microphone versus a
Oh,
headset microphone. I have found that the lapel is more cumbersome for me, just because if I turn my head, unless it's a multi-directional microphone, then you can't hear. So depending, if you're on the
Oh,
floor and you're doing abs and you're turning one way and then the mic's over here and you're talking this way, you're going to
I
lose
gotcha.
audio, you're going to lose your voice. So I
Okay.
have found that the headsets work better for me. Now I know that I'm sure that all the fitness pros listening to this, have their own unique setup if they are teaching virtual and they've all got their favorite mics. But if you
Yeah.
are just trying to get into teaching virtual, the mics are going to be very important, because that's how
Yeah.
you're going to be able to communicate with your participants.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And one of the things that Kelly said last week, which I found really interesting, is that you hardly ever look at the video as a participant. I mean, you glance,
Mhm.
but most of the time you're listening. So your
Yeah.
words better be clear with very limited feedback, no music
right,
interference, all that. So,
absolutely.
um,
And
all right. So
then
the one you're using right now, you really like,
yeah,
I imagine.
so finally, after I mean, these served me well, right? So this is kind of like, your starter pack just to get you
Mm,
started. Being
I
able to
see.
plug it into the ear where your earphones would go. You might have to get a little adapter depending on if it's a 3 millimeter attachment, a 2.5 millimeter attachment. And
Mm.
again, usually they come with all the different attachments that you
Oh,
actually need
nice.
inside
Nice.
the pack. So you get all the
Nice.
different types of adapters and all of that in order to plug this into the computer. Some
Okay.
computers will recognize the microphone. Others, you're going to have to hunt for it when you go into your video and audio settings to make
Hmm.
sure that you're picking the right mic. Because typically, if you're using your computer, it's going to want to choose your computer mic. Okay, so all
Oh,
of our
right.
yeah, so all
Uh-huh.
of our computers have their own mic. However, when we're teaching away from the computer, it's not going to pick up your voice. And I know
Yeah.
even on webcams, a lot of webcams will have a built-in microphone. But again,
Oh,
when you're far away from the webcam, it's not going to pick your voice up, especially if you are using music in your class.
right,
So
right.
microphones are definitely going to,
That's a
be
big one.
a really important component. You can
Sure.
spend $19 all the way up to $800, $1,000 on your mic. And
Ooh.
those are the price ranges. So when I first started, yes, it was something I wanted to do. However, I was on a budget, and so I went with the $34, $35 microphones, and they worked great
Oh,
until
good.
they
Okay.
didn't. Okay. So because
Oh,
I
I
was
see.
teaching so many classes, if you're teaching once or twice a week, one of these $34
Gotcha.
mics is going to be perfect. However, if you're teaching 5 to 10 to 15 classes a week, you want to invest in a microphone that's going to last for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
one that I actually recommend, so if it's something that you definitely want to do and you want to have a professional setup, I
yeah.
highly recommend the Samson. And they have it's called an airline stream, and
Okay.
they are pricey. However, if you go to eBay, a lot of times you can get them at half price. They may be used, but they're still in good shape. So
Wow,
that's
really?
another, yeah,
Good,
that's
good,
another
good tip.
option, is to go on eBay and to kind of look through. Sometimes they do
Nice.
auctions and bids, so you can bid
Hmm.
on them. I was trying to bid on one from the Salvation Army, brand new,
Really?
Samson. There was only two of us bidding. I was a second too slow with that button, so I
Oh,
missed out on it. But
Oh man.
yeah, but this
wow.
is the
Okay.
one that I recommend. It's the airline, and there's
Airline.
all different ones with the Samson, and it comes with the transmitter. So you have a whole
Wow.
transmitter, you've got the wireless headset, and then you've got all the attachments that come with it. So
Wow, Janice, this
this
is
is
very
pricey.
impressive.
So
Yeah.
these run about $400 if you want to get a new one, and
Wow. Okay.
that's what I opted to do, since I had gone through 5 years of issues.
Yeah.
And Denise can
I can
testify
attend to that. Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
I call it drama and trauma of microphones for class, because They just,
Yes.
because we sweat, right? And so
Yeah.
even if you're teaching in a studio setting, you've gone through microphones in a studio
Yep.
setting.
Yep.
Unless you are really drying those mics out, they're not going to last forever because we're
No.
sweating on them.
You're sweating and you're moving, so
Yeah, exactly. Now I know Samson, their airline does have sweat proof. There are some sweat proof microphones out there that they make. Again,
Okay.
they're going to be more on the higher end, but
Yep.
again, if
Yep.
this is your livelihood and this is what you're
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
we have to invest. We have to
Right.
invest in our
Yeah.
tech.
Yeah.
Right.
For
Now,
sure.
this is I really like this company. It's called Pile. Yep.
Pile.
And again,
Okay.
it's kind of a nod off to the Samson. You get the transmitter, you get the
All right.
headset. And this one worked really, really great. And with that transmitter, you can adjust your audio, the sound, the bass. You can
Okay.
do, all that kind of stuff for your
Wow.
mics.
Very
But I
nice.
highly recommend, if this is something that you're going to want to do on a weekly
Yeah.
basis, that you invest a little bit. If it's something that you want to just test out, or you just want to film some YouTube videos, then going with this is the Pile 2, but going with a wireless microphone from Amazon where you just plug it right into the computer, they really worked for me.
Okay.
So
Wow. Wow. You're impressive. This is very impressive. So speaking of, and you don't have to go into the details, but I'm assuming there's certain settings in Zoom to
yes.
accommodate the mic as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So in Zoom, when you go to Zoom, you would go where it says video, and there's an arrow that clicks up. And so this is where you're going to be able to select your camera. So that's where you want to make sure, are you using your USB live camera, or are you using the actual device camera?
Okay.
And then there's a section there also for you then to work with your audio. So then there's another button next to video that says audio, and this is where it's going to come up if you have a external microphone plugged into your computer. This is where you're going to select your microphone. So on mine, just to share what my screen says, it says select a microphone. It says microphone USB live camera audio. So again, that would be the webcam. So I could choose the webcam, but again, like I said, it's not going to give you the best audio. Next one would be microphone Realtek audio. That's the one I have selected because that is my external Samson transmitter. Okay. Then there's one that says microphone array, which is the AMD audio device. So that's going to be your computer microphone, okay? Because all computers have a microphone.
Yep.
And then there's another one that says same as system microphone, which is also kind of the USB live camera, which is going to be the webcam. So so this was one of the things that used to drive me to drink, was just trying to figure out which microphone button to push. So I was always having to do tests before class. So I'd sign up in early, and then I would hit the record button and then make sure I had the right setting. And then, so I used to do all of that.
So this all comes from select video settings. Is that it? Video
the audio
settings?
and video. So at the bottom of the screen, if you are on your computer, you're going to see, audio, video, participants, chat. You're going to see all those buttons at the bottom.
Okay, audio.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So you want to go to
settings.
the audio and the video to make sure that you are selecting the right component.
That was very helpful. Very, very helpful. All right, very cool. Since we're talking audio, we can get into music, and then we can talk about lighting, and then we're going to be done, I guess. So music, how do you...
So music now is another whole big animal when you're teaching a live virtual class. And Denise will speak on this. Not only do we have licensing and, all of the legal stuff about music, but how do we actually get the music to play while we're teaching? Okay. And this also comes into play on, are you going to be on beat when you're teaching virtual class? If there is a little snag in the internet, if the internet clips out or comes back in, sometimes it puts you off beat. And Denise, you've noticed that in class.
I have.
So we were having internet issues for the last 8 weeks, and it's like, it looks like you're
Yes.
not teaching on beat and you don't know what a 32 count is, but you do, but the music is like over here and you're
Doing
over
its own
here.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that can happen, and that's why I really highly recommend you be hardwired
Yeah.
when you're teaching
Yeah.
class, because that's going
Okay.
to save a lot. But
Okay.
in the same area where I just clicked audio, where it says select microphone, it
All
also,
right.
the next section says select a speaker. Because in
Oh,
order to
okay.
teach, you have to hear the music.
Mm.
Okay? So you have to have an external speaker in order to hear your music.
When you
Okay?
say you mean you have to hear the music because you're
Me.
the teacher. Yeah.
Yeah, as
Hmm.
as me. I'll discuss how you actually share the music with your participants, and
Okay.
that's something different. But as the
Okay.
instructor, I have to be able to hear the
You got to
music
hear
in
it.
order to stay on my 32 count, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so I keep it real simple. Mine
All right.
is, and I'm just going to unplug it, is just, I just use a little jam. This is just one of those little jam speakers.
All
And
right.
so that's what I have, and that's plugged in to the headset. Okay, now this is where
Okay.
I just said my microphone was attached to the headset, right? Where you put your
All right.
a headset in on your computer. That's where you have to have a little splitter. Okay, so you only have
Mm.
one, port to put the headset in, right? So you have
Gotcha.
to have a little cable, it's called a splitter, and you
Right.
slide that in, and then there's a little splitter, so one side goes to the microphone, and then one
Huh.
side will go to my speaker
Okay. And then just to clarify, this is the speaker for you to hear,
for the
not
instructor to
for the
hear.
participant to hear. Gotcha.
No.
All right. For
Now
the instructor.
I do know that some instructors have used an external, they've got bigger speakers, and they just
Oh.
play the music
Out
through the
loud.
speakers out
Right.
loud,
Hmm.
and then the participants, they don't hear it.
It goes
It
through the mic, right? It goes in through the
kind of
mic.
goes
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
mic a little bit. Even if they're not using a mic, you can still hear, but it's just not going to
Yeah.
be crystal clear. It's not going to be
I agree.
professional sound, if you
Yeah,
will.
for sure.
You can
For
get
sure.
away with that, of course. But if you're looking to up level or even start your virtual, you are going to need a little external speaker. And
Okay.
again, this is a jam, and you can, again, get these on Amazon really
All right.
inexpensively.
External speaker.
Yeah,
Okay.
external
Good.
speaker, and that's for you, the fitness professional, to
That's right.
hear the music so that you can stay on beat. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so in the computer, under audio, we have to select that speaker so that we can hear. Okay. Yeah. So
Okay.
I've got on mine, it
Wow.
just says speakers, Realtek audio, and that's my little speaker. But there are headphones, there's Sony TV because I've got a big screen over here. That's a whole nother animal.
Oh.
Same system headphones. Then you can test your speaker and your microphone. You can switch to phone
Wow.
audio, and you can leave computer audio. Those are all the little sections that you can do in your audio.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see
Okay.
that. Okay. I
Yep.
see that. Very nice.
So
Wow. All right. This is
now,
so helpful. All right. Now about
yay.
participants.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in order to share the music so that your participants can hear it, then we have to go into your share button, and that's going to be the green button at the bottom of your page, of your Zoom
Oh.
link. And this
Oh.
is something that you have to do each time you teach. It doesn't save the
Really?
settings. Your
Oh, Lord.
microphone, your speaker, that all should save it, and you don't have to fiddle with that once you get it set up, unless you unplug things and you plug them
Okay.
back in, it
Okay.
will default back to its original settings. But to share your music, now this was another whole big animal. Remember, Denise, when we were
Yes, I do.
back in 2020 trying to figure
I
out
do.
how
Oh,
to
boy.
how to do all of that.
I know.
Were you using an app, right? Or are you
Right.
using iTunes? Are you using, you're on
Right. So many
Spotify,
mobile
right?
device, no mobile device. Yeah, there's a
Right,
lot
yeah.
of
What do we
things. Yeah.
do? Well, I like to keep things pretty simple. So,
Yeah.
because we had enough to worry about, I use iTunes. And so
Okay.
what I will do is I will go to the Muscle Mix library, and I will download from the virtual music because, again, if you're teaching virtual, you need to use virtual music, especially if you're hitting the record button, because that
Yeah,
gets into
yeah.
the whole licensing thing. And I know that you've spent tons of time talking about all of that.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So I download it onto the computer and then into iTunes. So that way I've got all my library in there. So
Gotcha.
in the morning, then what type of class I'm teaching. Am I teaching kickboxing? I either make a playlist or I go directly to an album that's already pre-made through Muscle Mixes.
Right.
For myself, I prefer pre-made albums because it's, again, one less thing I have to worry about.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, if you're into, creating those playlists and, getting it just right, then, you can do that in iTunes as well.
Yeah.
But
I want to just stop for a minute, interrupt for a
Yeah.
minute, and just explain what iTunes is because everybody gets confused. So the company name is Apple. I'm really dumbing it down right now. But Apple has two pieces to it. It has iTunes Store and it has Apple Music. iTunes is a download store. If you're old enough, like I am, you remember the days where that was the only thing that existed. And you have to purchase each song, or iTunes also can store music that you purchase, in the case like Janis purchasing from Muscle Mix. So iTunes is downloads. Apple Music is streaming. Completely different apps, completely different applications. So I just want to make sure you understand that, and everybody can have access to it. Everybody can download iTunes, I'm pretty sure, for free, whether you're on a Mac or not. Anyway.
Yeah.
Good.
Perfect. Yeah, great.
Okay.
So in order for your participants through Zoom to hear your music, you're going to have to share that music file. So again, in the beginning, we were like, where do we go? Like, how did we do this? But now it's like, once you get into it, it just becomes second nature. And every morning you just select the right buttons. So this is where you would go into your share button. It's typically the green button if you're on your computer at the bottom of the screen, and you would click on it. Just left click, and then a screen is going to pop up, and it's going to say at the top there's different tabs. It says Screens, Documents, and then it says Advance. So you're going to want to click on the tab that says Advance because this is going to pull up your audio selection. Okay.
Wow.
Now, if you were doing like a PowerPoint presentation, you would go to Screens because you want to share your screen. We just want to share audio. Now, there are 6 different options. You've got iPhone, iPad via AirPlay. You've got PowerPoint as a background. You've got portion of a screen. You've got computer audio. You've got video file. And then you've got a second camera. Those are all the different items that you can click on. For class, you're going to want to click on computer. So then you would click that, and then you would click share. And then at the very top, this is where it gets a little tricky. At the very top of your screen where it says Zoom Workplace, you've got meeting, you've got my computer sound, recording, and then there's a section that says original sound for music. Okay, this is the one that's so important. You have to click that on. You have to make sure that is on. So then you just run your mouse over. It says original sound of music. Right now it says off. So then I would just click it on, and now it says original sound for musicians is on. Noise suppression is disabled.
And you have to do that every single time you teach?
Every time.
Live class? Wow.
Yes. Every time you teach a class, you want to do that.
Oh, wow.
Now, there are certain settings in your audio that can enhance the music, can suppress background noise. So if you are in a noisy place, there are different sections that in your audio in Zoom that you can do that. You can play around with that. But that is the biggest one, is sharing.
I love that.
Going to computer audio, hit the original sound for musicians on.
Okay. I love
and then
that.
you just you just hit play on your iTunes, and now the music is going to play for your participant, and then you're going to now hear it through the speaker that you have externally attached.
That's amazing, Janice. You are a genius.
Well,
Can't
you
believe
and
you
I
did all that.
figured all that out. It was like,
Yes, we did.
and then
Yes, we did.
and then we couldn't figure out in the morning. It's like, why does not anybody hear the music?
I
Like,
know.
I didn't know that you had to then do that every morning. And then you had to remember
Right.
what the settings were. And it was just like,
Oh,
oh my
wow.
gosh,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. All right. So, wow, that's a very, very impressive and very detailed. And, I think we might, maybe Rhonda will put this information when we share this to YouTube. Maybe we'll put some of this information on in the Facebook group.
Yeah, because I know it can be,
It's a
if you're
lot.
just starting out to teach virtual, I know all of this can be very overwhelming, but trust me, we've all been there because
Yeah.
it's just, we've all been
lot.
there. It's frustrating. But
Yeah.
once you get it and you just keep doing it just becomes habit and routine.
Yep,
But it's just
for
getting all the
sure.
components to work together. And that's the biggest
Wow.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about lighting. I'm learning so much. This is
Yay!
amazing.
I hope this is helping you guys. And again, if you have questions, feel free to go in the chat button, or you can put it in the Facebook page if you have questions, or feel free
Yep.
to email me. I can, definitely help. This is my love. This is what I love to do. So.
I know you're so good at it.
Aw,
All right,
thanks.
let's talk about lighting.
Okay, because I know a couple people had questions about lighting. They were really
Yes.
interested in learning about the lighting. So,
For sure.
and again, this is important too, because if you want to look professional, lighting is so important, just like your microphone. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll just show you right now, real quick, what everything kind of looks like without the proper lighting, and you'll see
Oh.
how dark everything gets.
Oh, this is going to be really cool. All
So
right.
then, like my studio and everything, and then look, you can't
Can barely see you.
you can't see me, right? And so
Right,
then you're going to
right.
have like all kinds of shadows and
Shadows.
all of that. So I
Okay.
use a ring light, and
All
it's
right.
called Newer. That's the brand. There's all kinds of ring lights on Amazon, and it comes with a tripod, and that's
Yep.
where the webcam sits. So there's portals, like you slide the webcam in the back of the ring light, and then the webcam sits inside the ring light. So, and the ring light helps when you're up close doing descriptions, or you're doing your intros and you're out for your videos, and that way you're illuminated and you don't have weird shadows on your face and all of that. Then to get the background to light up, you would have studio lights on the other side. And these are just they're really inexpensive, especially if you go on Amazon.
Really?
You can get a whole kit for like sometimes $50, $70.
Studio lights. Okay, so
Studio
you have a ring
lights.
light and studio lights.
Yeah, and so I've got one ring light in the front, and then I've got two studio lights on the sides. And what they look like is here. I'll bring it around so you can actually see what it looks like.
Yeah, that'd be
Maybe this
great.
one's easier. Here,
Okay.
take this around.
And you always want to have them facing you, is that right?
No,
the
not
light-
necessarily. These I actually have facing to the back wall.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so
Oh, okay.
this
yeah,
is
I
what
see
it
that.
looks like. So
Wow,
you've got,
beautiful.
it's like, it
Beautiful.
illuminates, and it's just a big black box, and
That's beautiful.
you can adjust the settings to make it hotter or less bright, depending on what kind of lights you have going on. Like I've got gazillion lights in here, which is kind of over the top, but there's lights up on the ceiling,
amazing.
and then there's
Yeah.
lights coming this way. But
Oh.
ring light,
That were with the
and-
room. They were with the room, you mean?
yes, yeah,
Those lights
they're in
were
the
already in
yeah,
the
they're
room.
already, I've got strip lights at the top
Track
that are,
lighting, yeah.
track lighting and all of that.
All
but
right.
ring light, two studio lights, and your lighting is going to be golden. Because here's the thing, the two on the side help to take the shadows away from the wall. So if you've ever
Oh,
seen, if somebody has just a direct light in the front, then you're going to see shadows. Your grapevining and your shadows over here. You're going to see a lot on
mm,
the background. This kind
I
of
gotcha.
filters all of that out. So again, I'll just kind of
It
step
looks
back
amazing,
so that you
Janice.
can
Wow.
see. So I'm still lit and you can still hear
Hmm.
me, and but
Yep.
you're not going to see a lot of shadows in the back. You're going to see a little bit, but it's not like a harsh shadow.
It's
And then when
great.
I
Yeah.
come close, and then I come all the way back, so I'm
This is
still
very
bright
helpful.
and light. So no matter where I go in the studio, you can still see me, especially like if you're wearing black, right? um, if you're wearing black on a black floor, you want to have good lighting so that people can actually see your
Mm.
legs when you're working out.
That is amazing. And I do want to point something out that happened earlier.
Oh yeah.
Janice, when she first showed up, you want to explain it?
No,
When you
go
first
for it.
showed up. When she first showed up here, she sat down. She had a white sweatshirt on with a gold glittery kind of a decal. And for some reason, that shirt caused the backlighting to go out, or not to go out,
Black.
but black. You couldn't see it.
Mhm.
And all she had to do was change her shirt. And I swear to you, it was the weirdest thing.
Oh, we
I
were
can't
like,
believe
what's
it.
going on? Because I mean,
Yeah,
like Denise says, she takes my class every morning.
every day.
That
Yeah.
has never ever
Never
happened
happened.
in class, and we were like, what is that?
I mean, really, you guys as fitness professionals are doing what Hollywood producers have studied long and hard in film school. You know what I
Absolutely,
mean?
Yeah.
because lighting
So,
is key. Lighting is tough. If you're a photographer, you know lighting
oh
and
yeah,
settings and
yeah,
all that, it's really difficult. So
yeah.
save yourself some time. Keep it simple. One ring light in the front, two on the outside, and
Okay.
you're going to look fabulous on camera.
Wow. Well, I'm going to kind of quickly review a couple of things that we discussed,
Just
and
want
then
to
we
add
can,
one more, well, just
oh
one more
yeah,
thing.
please,
Is
please.
the screen over here? So I've got a big television screen
Oh,
for me to
so you can
see my
see us.
participants. Yes. Because if
Ah.
you've ever taught on Zoom with 30 and 40, 50 people, the little screen is like this and you can't see everybody on your
Oh.
computer screen. So I actually have a big monitor over here so that I can adjust form and technique and I can see everybody in
Oh,
class. And
wow.
so then that just runs into the HDMI on your computer. Super simple.
Wow. I guess I didn't know you had that.
Yeah.
Better make sure that I don't have like something between my teeth from that one. Um, before you say your parting last words, I know we started late, so we'll go late, but I'm just gonna kind of recap some of the major highlights, and Rhonda, and let me know, and Janice, let me know. Number one, definitely
Okay.
be hardwired, which means plug in instead of Wi-Fi to avoid as many problems as possible. You use Zoom, that's your choice, and it seems to work really well. This is for your live streaming classes. You use a computer, not a mobile device, but you could use one. You use a webcam, which is an extra device that you attach either to your computer or to the ring light for shooting it. Microphones, you've gone through 30 of them, but in the end, you have something called Airline Stream by Samsung, right?
Yes.
And then the music, oh boy, there's so much that you went over. Music, there's two parts
Mhm.
to it. There's music that you need to hear. And believe it or not, when I was a DJ, same thing. We used to have a monitor to listen as the DJ because we had to make sure everything was on beat. But so you have a little tiny speaker that's attached to something with a splitter, an external speaker, there it is, for the instructor to have. And then also, I'm not going to go into the detail, but you click a share button to, you use iTunes as your music source. All that music's already been pre-downloaded, ready to go, and you have to share it each time along with that little original sound button in the upper right-hand corner. Oh my goodness, I have learned a lot. Lighting, one ring,
Mhm.
two studio lights, and you have a big TV screen. That's a
Yes.
lot. That's a lot,
Yes.
big investment
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
money, time,
Yep.
and you've just saved, some people some time and
Yeah,
money.
and I mean, you've seen the progression, right? Like when we first
Yes.
started, I was like in my living room in Miami. I didn't have a microphone. I wasn't sharing music. We just, just got our
Winged it.
workout on.
Yep.
Then it was
Yep.
like, okay, now let's try to figure out what we need to do. And so then we started, then I got a floor, and then I got, all of the stuff
All
for
right.
class. And I built out my dining room in Miami for the studio. And
Uh-huh.
I had to
Uh-huh.
get a barn door to close off the kitchen. So,
Yeah.
I just had to, make it work. And now that I'm in Kentucky, I built out a complete
That's
studio.
amazing.
The flooring is, a traditional gym floor to help absorb, the shock of high impact. You
The
know,
logo in the back, your
yep,
logo
the
in the back.
logo on the back and
It looks
different
beautiful.
areas for hooks and stuff if I'm teaching TRX or if I'm using tubing on
All
hooks on
right.
columns. And
Yeah.
then just, yeah,
It's
just,
amazing. I mean, we could go. I have
Great.
so many more follow-up questions and comments. We have to bring
Mhm.
you back, Janice, because you are a wealth of knowledge. You have
oh,
so
thank
much to
you.
Yeah.
share, really. And we didn't get into the on-demand, and we're kind of running out of time, but I know that you do save your videos, put them on demand. Do you want to
Mhm.
share quickly what platform you use and how well
Yes.
that works for you?
And I highly recommend if you are already teaching virtual classes, hit the record button because there might be like the best class you've ever taught. And
Yeah.
then that is a different business model that you can now
Yeah.
sell.
Yeah.
And so, if there's anything that I can tell you guys, please hit the record button so that you have material,
Yeah.
either
I
for
love that.
social media or to put a program together. I know Kelly talked a lot about that last
Hmm.
week, putting
Hmm.
programming together. Hit the record button so that you save that recording. But
For
I
sure.
work with Arcata. And I know Rhonda's going to put the link in there. You can get a
Yep.
7-day trial with my link, and I know they have discounts and
Cool.
all of that. So feel free to use my link to kind of explore how you would
Okay.
actually house your library.
That's
Um,
great.
that's
And they
basically
and
what
they
it is.
commu they connected with Zoom, right? You do everything on
Yes.
Zoom and
Ah,
you upload or it uploads
yes.
automatically or
Is
something. We can go
awesome
into that.
because I
Yeah.
used to have to then, save the Zoom, then
Mm.
upload it to this platform and
Oh
then
yeah, no.
upload it to over here. With Arcata talks to Zoom, so when
Nice.
you hit record, it automatically goes right into your
Automatic.
library.
That's
So
amazing.
it's
Oh,
awesome. It's
wow.
like seamless. Yep.
Wow, Janice, we have to bring you back because there's just so much more. I wanted to get into some other things, but we're running out of time. I know that you are so good. I do want to comment as a participant of your classes, how great of an instructor you are. Not only with the cueing, the mirroring, you're very good at mirroring, which I know a lot of newer instructors don't really have that down. But you're great at that. That helps me a lot when I'm taking your class and you're facing us. And
Mhm.
also the introduction, you always do an intro at the beginning to kind of explain some important things. And at the end, she talks about how the class went with everyone. Now, do you record that part or does that you turn off the
Yeah, it's
recording?
recorded. Yep. Yep.
Okay, all right,
No,
cool.
you can't see who's talking, but you can hear everybody. And that's one of my favorite parts of class because we always have just it's like kind of a little 5-minute party at the end just to ask
Yeah.
questions and yeah, it's so much
Yeah,
fun.
get feedback and yeah, I love that. So, and at the beginning, you always do a quick overview and you are so professional. You always say who you are. You always say what kind of class it's going to be. These are things that people who have never taught before take for granted. They don't even realize it, that they have to even do that. So that's amazing. And I do want to bring you back. There's so much more. Any parting words? Anything you want to say at the end here?
I just say the whole thing about failure to launch, just do it. Just do it. If you're on the fence about doing it, you don't have to have all of this stuff. Just set your iPhone up, do a live Facebook workout if you've never done one, record something,
Yeah.
just get in there and try your best. And that's all we can do is show up for ourselves because you're going to be able to help inspire somebody else to live a healthier life. And that's what we do.
That's what it's all about. Oh my goodness, you're amazing. So listen, everyone, we are going to take this recording. We're going to post it into Facebook. Do we want
Mhm.
to quickly unmute? We have six
Yeah,
more
if anybody
minutes.
has
If
questions, let
anybody
me
has questions.
know.
Let's see if I can figure out how to unmute.
I'm
We'll
working
go
on
ahead
this
and
week.
finish up. If you're okay, Janice, if we can go to 305.
Oh, I'm fine. Yep.
Try unmute.
Oh, and I do have a workshop coming up next week, which
Oh,
is my Marshall
yes.
Tabata.
Uh-oh, I did something. I muted you, Janice. I'm so sorry. Janice, I unmuted you. I mean, I muted you. Let's
I think
see.
you
Here,
muted everybody.
I'm talking by myself.
Yes,
No, I
you
was
I
just,
have a question,
yes,
Yes.
absolutely,
if I
Teresa.
may. So, Therese,
Teresa.
there's a lot of this I totally understand. I went the iPad app route for music and sound. Never had a problem with microphones. Had tried to do microphones years and years and years before, and it was a disaster. And then this came along, COVID, and we had to make changes. So a lot of the things you've mentioned, I totally understand and feel for everybody who's ever tried. My only problem is flooring, light color. I don't want a pink floor, but I want a good light floor because I wear a lot of black, used to
Yeah.
anyway. And I like that. Do you have any suggestions of flooring companies? I know that was off topic, but it's really important for me because I got the lighting, I got the sound, I got my flooring that
Yeah,
I'm
your
trying to
studio
find.
looks great.
It works for what I do, but the flooring, these are like stuff that sticks together, that comes together, which is fine just to stand on, but when you're moving around a lot, it buckles up. So
Oh, okay.
I just want a big mat. I'm just looking for a big mat because this is about 6 by 9 back here.
Okay. This is the linking
Great.
system. They actually link together like a puzzle, and I think the
That's how this
company was
is.
called just Gym Floor.
Okay,
So,
Okay,
yeah, and they've
great.
got all different colors. And
that's what I need.
originally, when I started, I had a black floor. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it because nobody could see me moving and grapevining,
Right.
so I gave that to actually one of my participants. Sandra has the black floor in her
Oh,
studio.
nice.
And then I
Nice.
got, because of my colors, was pink, but they've got all different colors, and I think it's called Gym Floor. So
I'll
check
check that
that
out.
out. But I know
Great.
Amazon carries those big flat
I've seen
black, but
those.
they're black.
They're all
They're
black.
all they're
There's
all
only
black.
one that I found that's maybe gray, light gray, which would be
Yeah.
okay, but
Yeah.
I'm afraid to purchase something, and I have, where it covered the floor, but it wasn't the right material too.
Yes. And
Um,
so this one goes,
Awesome.
since they're 24 by 24 squares and very easy to cut. So I did it corner to corner. I covered so it
Wow.
doesn't shift, it doesn't move. I cut it around the border and everything. And then it also comes with little border strips to cover the linking system.
yeah,
But
Nice.
I love it. You can get them in different thicknesses.
great.
Mine is an inch and a half. I decided to get the inch and a half one, and it really helps to
Wow.
absorb, especially if you're teaching on concrete, like if you're in your basement or your
Oh, yeah.
garage and you're trying to set up your studio.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be hard on the knees and the ankles after a while.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
No, that's
Thank you.
great. Great. And
Thank
that's snug. That's snug in
Yeah,
it's
it
snug up
doesn't
against the
shift, it
wall.
doesn't move. And you've
Awesome.
I honestly,
Denise,
Yeah.
you've worked out on it
I have. It's
in
great.
Miami.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really
yeah,
nice. Thank you, Therese. Great question.
Great question.
thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
important. Obviously, but that's my only hitch is the visuals once in a while. So I do mat Pilates as well as other things standing up, but when I'm on the floor, when I'm wearing black, lying down, I need to have a lighter mat that is on top of the mat that I
Yeah.
use here. Anyway,
Yeah.
that mat
That's
is a good one
great.
to stand on. That's why that's there.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up the part about the ear pods because I know a lot of instructors wear the AirPods. My ears are so tiny, they wouldn't stay in. I would do jumping jacks and they flew out of my ears because I know a lot of the home shopping networks, if they have guests come in, they all have the ear pod.
Is that right?
Yeah, they
Oh.
use those instead of like a lapel microphone or whatever. So
Yeah.
if
It's
that
very
works for
helpful.
you, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, 'cause
Thanks
it's
for
the same as
sharing
a
that.
microphone. You move back and forth, and it worked for me. A lot of things happened out of dumb luck right before COVID, and I had everything ready, weirdly enough,
Wow.
almost
Good for
everything
you.
ready. So
Good for
long
you,
story,
Therese.
but it was,
Yeah.
yes, I can relate to all the things you've been through. Anyway, I'm gonna check out because I have to go and work.
Thank you so much for
So,
coming. We'll
thank
be
you.
emailing we'll send the link on Facebook and everywhere. Thank you,
Thank you very much,
everyone.
and
I think
thanks for answering my
any more
question.
questions? Anyone else? I think we're good. Janice, you are amazing. You are really just such an amazing, amazing speaker, presenter. You've done so many great things. You want to just say quickly about your your
Sure, I've got
certification?
a workshop coming up next Friday, which is May 16th, 12 to
All right.
4. You get 8 CECs. It's martial Tabata, so if you like Tabata and you like kickboxing, we kind of marry the two together and you learn how to
All
put
right.
together your own program. So it's a lot of fun. Would love to have
Great.
you guys.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Rhonda, for the help. And we
Thank
will
you.
talk.
You're
Thank you guys
Till
welcome.
next
so
time, Janice.
much.
Thanks so much for coming.